He said, don't go with Roach. I said, no. I said, I think I'm going to go there. I'm going to be the comedian. And I said, if I go there, I'll be the big fish in the little pond rather than the little fish here.
At last he felt wanted, but he needed a new comedy character.
Finally got a character that we called Lonesome Luke, and that was really a kind of a half-shoot imitation of Chaplin. Although I tried to be different, I put on tight clothes where Charlie had loose ones, and I divided my mustache. And that went on for a long time, and was quite successful, but not really good.
The films were handled by Pathé, who ordered one a week. Roach himself directed and surrounded Lloyd with a stock company, including a 15-year-old leading lady, Pepe Daniels. And a comic from Australia, Snub Pollard. Their comedy was knockabout, Lloyd's character aggressive. Roach grabbed his pictures wherever he could.
Well, the whole downtown of Los Angeles became my property room.
When the Navy opened a battleship for recruiting, Roach grabbed that too. No one cared about the sailors in the background, more visible in this enlargement. Audiences didn't care either. Luke was now Pathé's star comedian, as Andrew Stone discovered when he ran a theater for children near San Francisco.
All those shows I ran, the Lonesome Lukes with Harold Lloyd seemed to be the most popular, even more popular than the Chaplins. He seemed to have more gags than Charlie Chaplin, although, of course, he didn't have Charlie Chaplin's style.
But I had the feeling that I would never get any farther with Lonesome Luke than I had, because underneath it all, he was a comedy character that couldn't possibly rise to the heights that Chaplin had. And in some ways, while you didn't directly try to imitate Chaplin, he was a character that dropped into that category.
Screen comedy was dominated by grotesques. Luke was part of this convention, and Pathé and Roach wanted no change. But Roach was persuaded.
This actor that played the drunk for us came on the set with a pair of glasses without any lenses in them, but it completely changed his entire character. So the next day I had him bring me a whole bunch of rims, and we tried them on Harold, and of course that's when he increased his value 500 or 600%.
Lloyd remembered it differently.
That wasn't Roach's idea. That was purely my own idea. Roach didn't want me to change in it. And when I finally decided and told him I was going to quit, and they said, all right, we don't know just what crazy idea or how you want to do this, Lloyd. We're going to dump it into your lap. And they said, Lloyd, go ahead.
New clothes, but hardly a new character. A certain style, but the same old knockabout. For Lloyd was still playing Lonesome Luke, with glasses. As a comic, he was a slow developer. But in 1918, audiences liked his slapstick just the way it was.
My sister and I used to go every week. We loved, I think, seeing his films because there was so much fast, visible action. We had a lot to talk about when we got out of the theater. You remember the spot where, and we would start describing this, and each of us would fight to get in our favorite description, our favorite event. And if I have an image, it would just be of a spinning top.
But in this sort of film, anyone could wear the glasses, and did. When Lloyd quit the studio, Roach put the glasses on director Alf Goulding, but not for long. The row had again been over money. Lloyd won a new contract, and then he saw a film he'd never forget. This film, about a meek parson who becomes a fighter, gave Lloyd the idea for the glasses, so he claimed. But it came out a year later than he remembered. What it must have given him was a clue to his character. The new Harold Lloyd would be more human, more ingenious. Lloyd was now gaining a distinct personality, like Chaplin.
Chaplin wasn't anything like us. In fact, part of his interest and appeal was his strangeness, I do think. And I think the same is true of Keaton to a lesser degree, perhaps, but nonetheless. But Harold Lloyd was very much like us. He was like our friends. He was like the kids we knew on the block.
Thanks to the glasses, romances were more convincing, his personality more appealing.
The idea, you could think of a person wearing glasses as being an erudite, studious person, but you didn't have to be that way, therefore it belied your appearance.
Think up gags like these. One of the first of Lloyd's many gag men. He'd worked with Fred Carno in England and helped Lloyd achieve his new ingenuity. Hal Roach was now just one of Lloyd's directors. As his studio expanded, so did Lloyd's production team. Roach took Snub Pollard for his own series, making Lloyd a star on his own, with his leading lady, Bebe Daniels. They had worked together for 4 years. Was their relationship anything more than just professional?
Just professional? No. What's another word for it? I know they had a special feeling for each other. They were in love. They were going to marry. They were gorgeous together. Dancing was a big deal. They gave contests. And Harold and Bebe used to walk away with their cups. They're beautiful dancers.
But Bebe wanted stardom. She felt Harold would never be a really great comedian.
She was ambitious. So Harold had to let her go. He had to get someone in her place.
Lloyd chose Mildred Davis. He'd seen her in this minor comedy. Her debut for Lloyd was in this two-reeler. But the real star was a 6-year-old.
With Harold, it was like we were play acting together. And he could have been an older brother, an uncle, somebody I really was attached to. It was so easy that now I look back, I know it it was a very special kind of relationship. The set we worked on was at Universal. It was the old New York set. Harold was very inventive and had a sense of how he wanted things done. In a sense, I think he directed to some extent.
Lloyd was no longer just a comic who copied others. He directed his directors. And he was becoming an influential filmmaker. One who would be influenced was Buster Keaton. Lloyd, Keaton. Pathé were delighted with Lloyd. By 1919, he was climbing still higher at the box office. That same year, he began a film in which he tried to kill himself. Halfway through, he posed for publicity pictures. Roy Seawright was at the studio.
He's looking around. Right beside him was the prop table, covered with dishes and so forth that needed on the set. And among the dishes and so forth was a prop bomb, a typical Bolshevik bomb with a long white wick. He took out a cigarette and lit it. And then he took a puff. And then he looked over the table, and you could almost see it hit him again. So he reached over and picked up that bomb, brought it up here, looked at it, and then put it up against his cigarette and lit the bomb.
Then I realized that it wouldn't make a good picture. So the only thing that saved my life was that I was going to say, it's no good now. So as I said, it, and as I lowered it here, the bomb went off. Went right straight up, blew a big hole about that big in the ceiling.
Then all bedlam broke loose. Everybody was running around here, call the hospital, call the ambulance, call the doctor, everything else. And now the pain has just now finally settling in, and he was still standing in his same marks where the bomb went off. And he grabbed his wrist. The thumb was gone. The first finger here was